What's up, guys, and thanks for tuning back into Token Metrics TV. This is Crypto Foresights, and I'm Forrest Pribish, Senior Cryptocurrency Investment Analyst at Token Metrics. All right, so we're taking a look today at Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I really want to focus on how strong Ethereum looks despite this correction. There's a couple things that tell me that, but first, let's just take a macro level view at Bitcoin and dive into Bitcoin a little bit. Then we're going to bring in Ethereum. So first, we've got Bitcoin's macro trend line here. We're kind of resting on it right now. You guys know, if you watch this show or watch the live stream with any frequency, that I'm a big fan of buying when we're on a trend line. Now, obviously, we could dip below this trend line. We could go into a bear market, right? A lot of things could happen, right? We could go back into a bull market. We're kind of in limbo right now. But as a general rule of thumb, buying on or below the trend line is usually, historically, a great entry point, right? Now, you could have bought on this trend line back in, November of 2019 here at $8,600 for Bitcoin. And yeah, it did end up spilling off painfully down to $4,000 or so, just under $4,000. But in hindsight, $8,000 is actually a great entry point into Bitcoin on this trend line, right? As long as this trend line continues to go upwards, right? And we see more money move into the Bitcoin space and the cryptocurrency ecosystem. All right, so just recapping kind of my plan for what how I'm handling this dip. You may find yourself in a situation where you've seen your portfolio drop. If you're in crypto, you've seen, unless you sold 100% of everything at the top, which is very risky to do, to sell all of your crypto, even if you do think we're at the top, right? You can never know for sure, and if it just continues to run up, you've potentially lost out on future gains, right? So unless you just sold everything and timed it perfectly with 100% of your portfolio, you've, just like everybody else, you've seen your portfolio value drop significantly. And you may feel like you've missed the opportunity to sell, but I'm here to tell you that you probably haven't, right? Now, I can't tell the future. I don't have a crystal ball, but this is how I personally am handling this, and I've discussed this in previous episodes, but we're continuing to see the price action develop for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. So I do want to recap. Basically, I propose that there is going to be a retest at some point. Where that actually ends up being is uncertain. But eventually there's going to be a retest. Maybe it'll come maybe we'll get, just a huge run up, and it'll be sooner rather than later. But there needs to be a retest in all likelihood of this line. Again, where that ends up being, we can't be certain. But if we get rejected at that retest, we could come back down and then retest the trend line, and then potentially go lower, maybe into a bear market, or maybe we chop sideways, right? Or maybe we pass the retest, in which case I would expect us to come back down, get confirmation before going back higher, right? Again, another possible thing that could happen, right? A lot of things could happen. We could pass the retest, bounce off of this head and shoulders neckline resistance point, come back down for confirmation, fail the confirmation, and then go back lower. So the way that I'm handling my portfolio in the short term to mitigate losses from a potential bear market or a potential further correction is to actually sell the retest. So let's say we retest at 47,000. Again, we don't know when or where it's going to retest this line. We just think that it's very, very likely. We think that because historically, most assets coming out of a bull market do retest their downtrend line, and Bitcoin has historically done it just about every time, right? So the idea here is for me to sell a good chunk of my portfolio. For me, it could be 40-50%. If you're not comfortable trading, again, this is not financial advice. You don't have to do this. Trading does introduce risk, right? You could mistime this trade, sell part of your portfolio here, and then we go right into a bull market, or you miss the confirmation bounce and you don't rebuy here, and you could miss out on gains, right? So By no means is this financial advice or something that you should feel like you have to do. This is just what I'm doing, and I'm letting you know that I'm doing this, and I'm letting you know why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because if we fail this retest and we go back lower, I'll have 50% of my capital unlocked, ready to rebuy lower. Rebuy the dip. And if we go into a bear market, I can start averaging in down here. Now, obviously, I'm using Bitcoin as a proxy for the rest of the crypto market, but I'm going to make a case for why we may see Bitcoin get flipped by Ethereum. Ethereum has been looking very, very strong. Before I jump into Ethereum, I just want to, if you're feeling, how do you may be wondering, how do you know, or why are you so confident that we're going to retest there, right? And maybe it takes a while and we retest all the way in August. Who knows how long it's going to take? The reason I'm so confident that it is going to and should retest is that historically, after a big bull market or a bull run, and this is back in 2019, so it wasn't like a full-blown bull market. It was kind of just a nice recovery. But after we made our lower low here, we came back and retested, right? And this trend line's not drawn perfectly, but if I did draw it perfectly, you would actually see that it did retest. It did retest here and gave you a chance. The top was 13.8K. It gave you a chance to get out at 12.2. That's not bad at all. If you sold this retest and you were able to start buying in lower and lower. And if you missed that first retest, it even gave you a second retest and it looked like it might have, wicked above it, but we never closed and got confirmation to go higher. But it gave you another chance to get out at 9.8K, right? Same thing goes for back in 2017. After this big bull market, we did get a retest, and it did take a little bit longer to get there, but the retest was at $11.7 thousand. That's a big difference compared to selling the bottom here, panicking, and selling the bottom at 6K. All right, you can sell for twice as much if you just wait for the retest, right? And you also a lot of times you don't want to not sell the retest. Again, if you're a long-term hodler and you're picking good entry points and getting in on these trend lines, then maybe and you're looking for a more passive strategy. Just hodling good projects is a completely fine strategy. Don't feel pressured to trade. But if you didn't sell this retest, right, you kind of had to watch it come right back down to 6K again. Whereas if you did sell this retest, you could have then gone and rebought at 6K with all the capital that you unlocked, or potentially waited even longer and rebought down here at around 3K. Right. So that's why it makes sense to sell the retest. And sometimes, right, the bull market isn't over. Sometimes you get a nasty correction, right? You see it come down, it gets a nasty correction, but then it retests. It retests, and in this case, right, we see it retested. It passed the retest, came up, but if you sell the retest, it's going to give you a chance to get back in at the same price or lower, right? It had to come back down and get the confirmation bounce before it went back up. So that's an example of where you sell the retest and it blows right through it, right? And then you feel like, oh, I know I shouldn't have sold. You just got to remain patient and confident and wait for the confirmation bounce, and then just buy the confirmation at the same price that you sold the retest. So again, not financial advice, but that is how I personally am trading my portfolio here. Now let's talk about Ethereum, and let's pull up this Goldman Sachs report. Ethereum beats Bitcoin as a store of value. If you guys have watched the Token Metrics channel or Token Metrics TV, you guys have known that this has been our opinion for quite a while, right? Ethereum's becoming more scarce than Bitcoin, and it's just funny that, and this is from May 24th, and now it's June, right? But we've been talking about this for months, and I just wanted to highlight that, not so much to draw attention to the fact that we've been talking about it, but just to highlight the fact that Ethereum actually is starting to look stronger than Bitcoin. Now, obviously, Ethereum, if I can jump over to the Ethereum chart here, made this massive move, right? It was kind of just channeling upwards at the bottom of this channel, the bottom of this trend line, ended up making this this massive move from about $550, 700+% move from $500 all the way up to 4.3K, 4.4K. So it made this massive 700% move from December of 2020 all the way until through the first half of the year in 2021 here. Now, obviously, everything's corrected. Bitcoin, when Bitcoin corrects, it brings everything back down with it. But you can see if we zoom in a little bit, I'm going to go to the 4-hour chart and just zoom in on this correction for Ethereum. I want to highlight how Ethereum has really the correction has and the price action for Ethereum has been very bullish if we compare it to that of Bitcoin's, right? Here we go. I'll just tighten that up a little bit. And what I essentially want to draw attention to the fact is that it's a lot of the price action for Ethereum is retesting this 2,900, 3K level, right? Where it's making continuous attempts to get back through 3K, right? And then every time it fails, it comes back down, but it makes a higher low, right? And obviously we had our lowest low here, right? But it's been making higher lows. And even this action today, we got a strong bounce and we made a higher low, and we're consolidating kind of in this triangle pattern, this little ascending triangle pattern, which is far more bullish than what Bitcoin's price action has been doing recently. And if we zoom in here to the 4-hour chart, you can see that it hasn't been making higher lows. We actually today made a lower low. So we had the flash crash down to 30K. We made a higher low at 31. We started making higher lows, and now we started making lower lows, right? And recently, this trip back down to 31K was I'll draw a horizontal line here so that you can see it. It's more of a double bottom, but it is technically a lower low, right? I don't know if you guys can see that wick peeking through the bottom there. It's technically a lower low, which isn't a good thing. And even if we measure and compare Ethereum's price against Bitcoin's price from the 29th of May, right? So the 29th of May was the last kind of local bottom for Bitcoin before we made this series of higher lows. And then the last local bottom was on May 29th at around 33.3K or so. Yeah, 33.4K down here. We actually today made a much lower low than that. And we can kind of measure, our lower low, 7.2% lower. Then if we hop over to Ethereum and we measure that same time frame, all right, let me get rid of that. We measure that same time frame from May 29th, where we made this lower low here, right? Instead of going 7.2% lower, right? A 7.2% lower low would have brought us actually down to roughly 2K. It actually made a higher low. So Ethereum made a higher low that was 5.5 to 6% higher than its previous local low. So the point being that even over the short term in this nasty, scary market, this nasty correction, Ethereum's price action in the short term looks much more bullish than Bitcoin's. Now, of course, we're zoomed in on the short term, and that doesn't mean that Ethereum's, that's not a huge indicator that Ethereum's going to flip Bitcoin, but it's definitely evidence that supports the theory here. So just to show you guys the trend and how close Ethereum actually potentially is to flipping Bitcoin. And it's not super close, but it's closer than you would think, right? So this is the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, and you can see we've just long-term been up on a massive uptrend. We did have this massive bubble before returning to the trend line. Now we've since kind of returned back to this trend line, or actually departed this trend line and headed upwards. Maybe we'll get some resistance from all this structural stuff over here. But basically, I just wanted to do a quick exercise and show you guys what ratio Ethereum to Bitcoin would have to get to for Ethereum to actually flip Bitcoin. And that's 0.1614. It's currently at 0.76. So like Ethereum's 7.6% of Bitcoin, right? Of the price of Bitcoin. And it would only have to get to about 16.1%, right? It's actually would barely have to exceed its previous all-time high to actually flip Bitcoin if Bitcoin stayed the same price and Ethereum just kept running. So what price would actually that be if Bitcoin just froze where it's at right now? I'm going to pull up CoinGecko and we're going to just look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's at 32.8, 32.9K, right? It's a $615 billion market cap. Ethereum's at a $290 billion market cap. I mean, we can just do this napkin math. I'll just do it with you guys, right? So if we just take round numbers here, right? We're just going to do some napkin math. 615 divided by 290, right? That's a multiplier of 2.12, and we just multiply that by the price of Ethereum, 25.01. That means Ethereum would only have to get to $5,304, give or take, to flip Bitcoin if Bitcoin froze, right? Obviously, Bitcoin, if Ethereum runs to $5,300, Bitcoin's probably also making moves upwards. So but it demonstrates that, I mean, $5,300 for Ethereum is a stone's throw. I mean, we were just at 4.3. If Ethereum, with everything on the roadmap for Ethereum, and we did some analysis a couple months ago showing that we thought Ethereum could go to $6,000 to $8,000 to potentially $14,000-$15,000 this bull market if the total cryptocurrency market cap saw $10 trillion move in to the space, right? I don't think $5,300 is that out of the question. Now, obviously, that's not enough to necessarily catch Bitcoin if Bitcoin moves up as well, but that's only 21%. A 21% move above its previous all-time high, and we still have EIP 1559 on the horizon, and we also have proof of stake, coming in the next year to year and a half, hopefully sooner rather than later. But I mean, I brought up that article from Goldman Sachs just to show you guys that it's not just us that are thinking this. I mean, this is kind of the narrative that I think we're going to start seeing where Ethereum is becoming a better store of value that also has a ton of utility over Bitcoin. And yes, if Bitcoin does kind of see tough times, it will be difficult for the rest of the market to rally because everything moves around with Bitcoin. But once something does flip Bitcoin, I think we'll be able to kind of detach and decouple away from Bitcoin. Right, so Ethereum is looking very, very strong right now, and if you're not a big fan of Bitcoin, or your Bitcoin makes you a little bit nervous, or the market right now makes you a little bit nervous, not financial advice, but maybe consider exploring Ethereum. Obviously, at Token Metrics, if you watch our YouTube channel or Token Metrics TV, we're big Ethereum fans, we're big DeFi fans, but it's for a reason, and it's being reflected in the price. So if the future of crypto or the future of Bitcoin makes you a little bit nervous, I'd dig into the Ethereum ecosystem. There's a lot of great things happening there. Thanks for tuning in to Token Metrics TV. This has been Crypto Foresights. Remember to tune back in every Tuesday for more Crypto Foresights. I'm Forrest Pribish, Senior Cryptocurrency Investment Analyst at Token Metrics. Thanks for watching. Bye.